Good morning, all my dear students. Today we are going to continue the same poem we took in our previous class, that is, an elementary school classroom in Islam. We had finished the first stanza, and today we are going to continue from stanza number 2. So let's take up the poem. An elementary school classroom in Islam, stanza 2. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities. Belled, flowery, Tyrolese valley, open-handed map awarding the world its world. And yet for these children, these windows, not this map their world, where all their futures painted with the fog, a narrow street sealed in with the lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of world. So again, a lot of imagery is used in this stanza also, and there are lots of symbols. The poet makes allusion to Shakespeare's head and a world map also. So now coming to the meanings. Sour cream walls. We all know the color of sour cream, cream which is not fresh. Where the fresh cream is white in color, the sour cream, stale cream, it takes on a yellowish tinge. Similarly, the walls of the classroom have become yellowish because over the time, no maintenance and repair has been done, and therefore, this sourness or this dull and dirty color of the walls, it further adds on to the sad, dull and monotonous ambience of the classroom. Donations. Donations has two implications here. The first meaning is that the construction of the classroom and the coloring of these walls might have been done by money donated by some wealthy people in the name of charity. Donations also refers to the names of these people being quoted on the walls of the classroom, as also certain embellishments that were used to decorate the class. These embellishments, they include pictures like Shakespeare's head. The reference to Shakespeare, we all are familiar with Shakespeare's name, and he is considered to be the epitome of English literature. The presence of his picture or bust in the classroom will raise hopes of a higher educational level in the minds of these children. Their dreams will be raised, which will remain unfulfilled all their lives, and therefore the reference to Shakespeare becomes irrelevant for these children. Another picture hanging in the classroom shows a clear blue sky in the early morning time. The clear blue color, it also symbolizes hope and optimism and points out that there is lots of hopelessness in the lives of these children. They cannot have a view of the clear blue sky from their areas because right from early morning, they are engaged in their own tasks. They don't have the time, they don't have the attitude to look and enjoy the clear blue sky. Secondly, the view of this blue sky is also hampered by the presence of tall buildings, which we see constructed all over the cities, all over the globe nowadays. The presence of these skyscrapers also hampers the view of the clear blue sky from the sight of these slum children. So the third picture was civilized dome. Civilized means tall buildings marking beautiful architectures and people living, privileged people living in these tall buildings. Riding all cities means they are present all over the cities all over the world. The fourth picture which is hanging in the classroom is of a Tyrolese Valley. The reference to Tyrolese Valley is a beautiful valley enclosed within the mountains in the alpine regions of Austria. The word belt is used here because it is located in the middle of the mountains, and there are a variety of flowers growing and beautifying the place. It's a famous tourist destination. But it is useless for these children because these children will never get any opportunity to visit places like this Tyrolese Valley. Open-handed map awarding the world its world. Awarding here means showing or depicting. Open-handed map means a map which has been made by human beings. And they have used a scaled representation to mark the different countries, big and small, in this map, as well as the places of natural and scenic beauties are also marked in this world, in this map. Again, this map is useless for these children because whenever they refer to these maps, their dreams are also raised because they are as normal people like other human beings, and they also have desires and feelings in their hearts. They would also be liking to visit these beautiful places and different destinations in the world, but because of limited resources and opportunities, they will never be getting any opportunity to fulfill their heart's desires. And yet for these children, these windows not this map their world. Therefore, their world is limited to the slum areas from where they can peep out at the beautiful world which is just contrasted to their slum areas, and they have to pass their entire lifespan in this dirty, dingy place only. They can only peep through the windows of the classroom, and they cannot come out of these classrooms or their slum areas to enjoy other places in the world. And in their slum areas, their future is bleak. The bleak future is represented by painted with the fog. Fog is always used to show miseries and misfortunes in the lives of the people. It spells of a dark period in the life of all the people, and therefore the future of these children is very bleak, it's very dark because it's full of misfortunes and denied opportunities. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky. The streets and the lanes in these areas are very narrow. If any time they make an attempt to come out of these narrow streets into the world outside, it seems as if the other end of these narrow streets is sealed, that is closed and covered with a lead sky. Lead is a metal which is a heavy metal which is grayish in color, and gray color always symbolizes darkness and dullness. So their sky, that is the world, their world is very dark, it's grayish, and it seals every opportunity or every chance for these children to come out of their narrow streets and slum areas. Far, far from rivers. We have already read in the first stanza that the location of these slum areas is very far away from places of scenic beauty. They cannot enjoy the scenes of the rivers. They cannot visit the different capes, and there are no stars of birds in their life. That is, they don't have any prospect of getting light through education in their lives. So we come to the paraphrasing now here, one by one. In the second stanza, Spender describes the classroom and its contents. He talks about the pale yellowish and dirty walls and the dull, unpleasant environment of the classroom. It is reflected as a classroom without any attractions. The dull and dirty ambience of this very classroom is the result of the lack of regular upkeep and maintenance on the part not only of the government but also the indifference of the privileged class. On the walls are displayed the names of people who have given donations for construction of the classroom or the building in the name of charity. And it seems as if they have been obliging these people by the construction and the beautification of these classrooms. This classroom is full of donations. So let us see what donations they mean. Besides the names of these people giving money as charity, many donated items have also been put up on these walls, which represents the world of the rich and the prosperous only. The bust or portrait of Shakespeare is irrelevant. As already told you, that Shakespeare, he holds the highest position when English literature is concerned. So the Shakespeare's reference means prospects for higher education. But these children, even if they dream of a better and a higher education, chances are marred for them. Therefore, Shakespeare becomes irrelevant. In another picture, we can visualize tall buildings of the civilized world, which represent the quality of architecture as of life in those cities. Yet another picture shows the early morning sky as blue, clear, and cloudless. Blue, as you know, is the color of optimism. And this blue color, it distinctly reflects the difference between foggy and filthy slum areas to those of beautiful, clean cities. Their world is not as beautiful as the belled, flowery Tyrolese Valley, a region in the Austrian Alpine region adorned with flowers, as illustrated in another picture hanging in the classroom. The children in an elementary school classroom in a slum are therefore trapped by their social and economic status. Therefore, all that the students possess, it comes from their oppressors. The maps, the books, and Shakespeare's head that give the students hope of something outside their dreary existence are gifts from the very hands that clamp them down in their economic and social position. Then the poet talks of the map makers who, on self-will, did bring changes to the map. As if willfully they divided the world into countries, big and small. Willfully they marked the places of panoramic beauty. There is no reference to the slums in these maps. The maps are meant only for the rich people. Thus, the poet here sarcastically exposes the dirty side of our society, the dual-mindedness of the human beings. But for the children, their world is not the world shown in the donated pictures or the world map embellishing the walls. Rather, their world is what they see out of the school classroom window. Their world, is quite a dreary and depressing place for them. The small arena of the slum is painted with fog, symbolizing a bleak and dark future filled only with uncertainty and hopelessness. Their world finishes in a narrow street, the exit of which seems to be sealed with misfortunes, which are as heavy and grey as lead under an unhealthy sky. Their world is far from places of natural scenic beauty like rivers, caves, and there are no stars of words, that is, no light of education in their impoverished, exasperated lives. So the word "sar" it is used to describe the cream walls of the classroom and it indicates its derelict condition. Contradicting this state and the slum children are posters and pictures hanging on the walls to which children can't relate themselves. That is Shakespeare's head, which indicates erudition, knowledge, education. The picture of a clear sky at dawn. Children can't relate to it because they neither have the time to view and enjoy this blue sky, nor do they have the attitude to enjoy scenic beauty. Civilized dome, that is the presence of skyscrapers and privileged class standing for civilization and progress. And a beautiful Tyrolese valley indicating hope and beauty of nature, which is marred from the lives of these children. A world map showing the children the progressive and developed world where there is no entry for them. So it is all limited to the world seen through the windows of the classroom and not what the map promises to them. It's quite ironical when contrasted with the misery and hopeless condition of the slum children. Their future is very foggy, it's very bleak and dull. No change, no chances of entertainment for these children. Their life and their world is confined within the narrow streets of the slum, enclosed by the grey sky, indicating a bleak future. The location of these slums is away from the rivers, seas that indicate adventure and learning both. They are cut off from the stars that stand for words, that is, better educational prospects that can empower their future. Lead sky symbolizes the bleak, dull life and the dark future of the slum children. So we come to the poetic devices which have been used here. Alliteration, sealed, street sealed, far, far from. Repetition, far, far, awarding the world its world. Enjambment, and yet for these children. Metaphors, sour cream walls, Shakespeare's head, Tyrolese valley, open-handed map, lead sky. So these were all the poetic devices that were used in stanza number 2. Now we come on to stanza number 3. Surely Shakespeare is wicked. The map a bad example, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal. For lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes from fog to endless night. On their slag heap, these children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel with mended claws like bottle bits on stones. All their time and space are foggy slum, so blot their maps with slums as big as two. Now, how can Shakespeare be wicked and the map a bad example for these children? Because the literature written by Shakespeare, it deals with nobility and royalty, the life of the royal people who are lucky enough to undertake grand voyages in luxurious ships to distant places of scenic beauties. They can enjoy the sunshine and their lives are blessed with sunshine. That is, they have got lots of opportunities in their lives. There is a bonding between these people and they enjoy their friendly relationships with each other. Whenever these children read Shakespeare and the reference comes to these big ships, luxurious grand ships, the sunny lives of these privileged people, and they see them behaving in a very friendly and a loving manner, they also feel tempted to lead these kinds of lives themselves. But since they don't have any resources with them for all these opportunities in life, they try to steal money from the other people. And in this attempt, they become criminals. Once they get the stigma of being a criminal, they cannot come out of the misfortunes anymore because their lives, it seems, very cunningly, very secretively, slyly, quietly, they force these people to return back into their own cramped holes. Holes like rats living in the holes, and cramped means all jumbled together. So you are all familiar with the kind of areas that these slums are. And in these slum areas, these people have to toil from early morning when the sky is still covered with fog. So fog represents the early morning time, and endless night, it means till late in the evening. You see children working at the dhabas in our country. You see children working in different places. You have already read about the rag pickers that they come out early in the morning and till late in the night they are doing their works. So their lives begin early in the morning and they keep on fighting, struggling till late in the night to eke out a living. On their slag heap, now what is slag? Slag is the residual waste which is left out after extracting the pure metal from its ore. So it is an industrial waste which is dumped out in the outside areas. Similarly, the lives of these children are a waste. Nobody wants to associate with them. They are unwanted in the society like the industrial waste in any industry. Then they pass their time. Slag also means garbage. So these children, most of the time, they pass their times in these garbage heaps. When they are picking things from these garbage, their appearance is very clear that they wear skins peeped through by bones. That is, their bones, their skeleton is clearly visible through their skins, which points out to their malnourished condition. On these slag heaps, they may be lucky to find a pair of spectacles, the frame of which is made of steel. These may be a pair of spectacles discarded by some rich person. So when they were thrown in this garbage heap, probably they hit on some stone, like any glass bottle which hits a stone and it shatters into pieces or it develops crack all over. Therefore, the lives of these children are as cracked and broken as the glass on those spectacles found by some child while picking out the garbage. All of their time and space are foggy slum. So, all 24 hours of the day they have to pass in these slums. And their space, of course, the places, their world is limited to these foggy slums from where they have no exit all their lives. So the map for these children is blotted with these slum areas where they are toiling, where they are undergoing so many problems, where there is depression, where there are misfortunes written to them. They may be going to any part of the world, but these misfortunes keep on stalking them, following them like doom that is death, keeps on following its victim and it is sure to come at any place and at any time. So, these children might be wanting to escape from these slum areas and the difficulties that they face in these slum areas, but there is no escape from them. They are being stalked by these misfortunes as death stalks its victims. So, in this third stanza, Spender responds very cynically to the reality of the students' future. He calls Shakespeare wicked, and the map is a bad example, of course. He writes that the stories from the books of ships and sun and love are tempting them, that is, the students in the slum area. It tempts them to steal. The world presented by an elementary school classroom in a slum is intended to lure them and drag them into a life of crime. Spender's cynicism is a commentary on the upper class and their tactics in the effort to hold a firm grip on lower class citizens. However, Spender sees the donations as something far more evil. His cynical view of the donations is that they were given not to infuse the students with hope, but rather to lure them to commit crimes or to steal, to try to enter into a world beyond their reach. In this stanza, he continues to describe the children on their slag heap. He returns to their thin, malnourished bodies, stating that they wear skins peeped through by bones. They also wear spectacles of steel with mended glass like bottle bits on stones. So, the poet, that is Spender, he is making a resounding humanist statement about the treatment of children in this poem. It appears that he is more sickened by humanity's disregard for the children than by the social and economic framework that has doomed these children to the slums. The head of Shakespeare and the map are cruel temptations for these children. There is no relevance of the ships. There's no relevance of the sun and the bonding and love exhibited by the elite classes described by Shakespeare in his classical literary works. And the map delineating the world is of no good use to them. When the world map shows the different countries, big and small, and the beauties and bounties of nature, they get leveled and tempted to steal. These things have no importance for them at all. They lived in cramped houses. Cramped holes, you read. Holes. It's a metaphor, comparing their lives to that of the rats, whose future, unknowingly and secretively, it foils all attempts on their part to escape from the slum life, and it forces them to return to their cramped holes, where they have to labor hard from fog to endless night, signifying only a dark future. This shows their lives are meant for nothingness. Slyly returns the phrase here. Dullness, marked by fog, and hopelessness, marked by the endless night. The darkness is there without any hope, as they imagine and yearn for, and therefore they are forced to steal and commit crimes because they want to enjoy adventure, which is represented by ships, for a better future, and that is the sunlight, the privileges in their lives, and for love, that is they are wanting social acceptance in this society. The children of the slums are found with stunted and skinny physique to wander, wander, on the heaps of waste. They wear spectacles which seem to be the bottle bits on stones. They do not have any holiday from their hellish slums. Their whole day and whole life revolves around the filthy, foggy slum. These slums are like duly blotted on the map of the wealthy and the so-called civilized people. The emaciated bodies with skin peeping through on account of malnutrition and unhygienic conditions. They live amidst slag heaps. They wear spectacles of steel with cracked glasses. They lead a harsh life with a distorted vision of the world. They hold on to a glimmer of hope in their otherwise harsh life. The slum is their world as big as doom. Their life, that is time and space, is foggy and dim. The poet repeatedly uses the word fog to talk about the unclear, vague, dull, and dark life of the slum children. And now I leave this task to find out all the poetic devices used in stanza 3, because by now you have become familiar what are the different devices being used by Spender, and you can easily look it. So we will be discussing stanza 4 in our next class. Till then, thank you and goodbye.